Dear John, I'm getting a lot of time here. As a matter of fact, they're running us ragged. We'll write and tell you the setup, sometime soon when I'm not so sleepy. Flew from 6 to midnight and took off with our pilot tube covers on. Hence, I had no airspeed indicator. It was really ticklish landing one of these babies without them. Gave the crew their choice of bailing out or staying. They stayed, and then brought it on in. Second Lieutenant Lester Allen Catron, 334th Bomber Squadron, written January 14th, 1943, killed January 24th, 1943.
Why I started collecting is because it's preservation of history, but also to preserve the stories. At the time, back in the late 70s, early 80s, there were still a lot of veterans around, and a lot of veterans were, some of them would talk to you. My dad, he didn't serve in the Air Force. He tried to join the Air Force. Unfortunately, he only had one eye. He had a glass prosthesis. But he instilled that appreciation for the military in us. How many artifacts do I have? Well, last count, probably a little over 5,600 items. Now, that includes, now I have to, quantify that to a certain degree, because that includes uniforms. And under uniforms, there's a lot of other things. It's not just one thing. It's a jacket, it's trousers, it's a shirt, headgear, footgear, underwear. It is humorous in a way when, around Christmas time, a lot of people talk about, well, what did you get for Christmas? And everybody gets, a pair of socks, or they got some fancy thing, a new couch or whatever. They ask me, what did you get? A pair of underwear. But they're 1918 U.S. Army issue underwear. And you see the look on people's face. It's a little bit humorous, but there again, that's part of what a soldier used. They used that type of material. A friend of mine in Missoula, Montana, basically he became my mentor. He instilled in me the idea of collecting different variations of artifacts. So it's not just, okay, I'm going to have one piece and that's the end of it. I take that piece and look at it, well, how many different types are made? Okay, well, I want all the different types, all the different variations. Unfortunately, that spun off into a pretty big thing, and as a result, my entire house is filled full of stuff. It's just the enthusiasm that I get having that thing in your hand, and actual artifact that was used by someone that did their job at a time that was very difficult for a nation. And that was a big thing for me. Why is this history important to preserve? I think it's a lot of it is being forgotten, of where and how we developed as a nation and the people that helped us grow. One of the units I specialize in is the 88th U.S. Infantry Division. It served in World War I, and what I've got here is the unit history of the 88th U.S. Infantry Division that was published in 1919. Now it includes the complete unit roster of all the men that were in the infantry regiments. This book is that's a standard edition that was made available to the public and also to the men of the division. But there's also another edition of it that came out, and it was a little bit fancier, and this was a leather-bound copy, all gold embossed, but this particular copy was awarded or given to a very interesting gentleman by the name of Theodore Roosevelt. Now, the thing is, Theodore Roosevelt, the President of the United States, he died in 1918, but Theodore Roosevelt Jr., he was involved in the U.S. military at the time, and after the war, World War I, he was one of the primary men that instituted and developed and started the American Legion. This is probably one of the best pieces in the collection relating to the 88th Infantry Division, one of the prizes. There's a group in the collection, and I call it a group because it's a group of artifacts from World War II. The soldier, he served in the 146th Field Artillery, and he resigned from the artillery unit to join the U.S. Army Air Force. and he actually piloted B-17 Flying Fortress. And he was destined to be shipped overseas to serve over in Europe. Unfortunately, January 24th, 1943, he ran into a severe snowstorm and he crashed. Him and his crew were killed as a result of this. What's really interesting in the group is that I've got a letter that he wrote to his brother 10 days before he passed away. Plus, after that, I've got the actual Western Union telegrams that were sent to his brother and to his mother. Letters of condolence from the U.S. Army Chief of Staff, the Air Force Chief of Staff, but the most poignant thing about the whole thing is the letters. The letter that he wrote to his brother shortly before he was killed.
Well, chum, it's nearly time for me to go and hail some groceries, so I will close. Give Joe my best regards, and tell him to keep his nose clean.
As for collecting, I said one time, somebody asked me, how long are you going to keep collecting? Well, when they try to close the casket, I'm going to try to make a deal on the casket to put it in the collection.